contractors are prepared and ready.
True, true. Hey, Eric, you ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, let's do this. That was a good conversation, but time to get rocking. I'm really excited about tonight. So got kind of a couple trainings backed up. Just a couple trainings I wanted to do with Jeff. So I'm glad to have Jeff with us tonight. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Welcome back, Jeff.
Yeah. So actually, I think we've got the next 3 trainings all planned out. Hopefully, maybe 4. Come to think of it, maybe 4, because Jeff and I are talking about a new one that we haven't talked about yet. Again, so I don't know if it's on yet, but
It's not confirmed, but we can announce it if you want.
oh yeah, sure. Why don't you bring it up? I think it'd be fun.
So a while back, we had a representative from Edge Homes do a class for us on one of our noon trainings for new construction. He's since left Edge and is on to some other things. And Lynn has a relationship with somebody else at Edge. And she brought up an idea that Eric and I thought might be kind of fun to do, a little bit different. And then Shantae you'll be in town for this one. So next Tuesday, what we're thinking is actually going out to one of the Edge developments for our 7 p.m. class. Nathan will have to get you on Zoom on our phones or something like that. But
Nathan will be with us too. Nathan's coming out.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Shantae mentioned that on her text. Cool. So
Yeah, that'd work. I just hold the phone.
yeah, you're on Zoom, Nate. But she suggested maybe we bring the crew out there and actually tour some properties. They've got some townhomes, some homes, talk about the difference in features, layouts, not floor plans, but also like how much the feature somebody chooses can change the value of the home. Because we look at it and say, yep, they're built the same year, the same square footage. Why is this one selling for so much more, right? And those packages on new builds, you can get it at the tens of thousands of dollars extra just because of the quality of products you upgraded to. So we'll confirm with you, but we're gonna try and set that up for Tuesday. I honestly, Eric, I just didn't have a minute to even reach out to her today. And so she wants to do it. She emailed us this morning, say, hey, when can we set something up? So as long as she doesn't have a conflicting thing, I should be able to set that up for next Tuesday, and we'll let everybody know what development we'll be in.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. I like that.
I think so too.
I like Edge a lot. They do a good job. So larger builder, but they do a really nice job. I've always been pleased with them on closings. So cool. Well, so tonight, Jeff and I if you guys read the text, you kind of know what's coming, but we've done the listing checklist of everything that we do, like pre-listing, how we do listing appointments and kind of that whole process through a listing. But, most new agents, their first transactions are usually with buyers. So we wanted to touch on, kind of go over our checklist of what we do on a regular basis when we put a house under contract. So we're going to do another class too on kind of the whole, writing offers and the Rep C and maybe some tricky addendums and kind of things that we want to look out for when we're writing offers. But if you're in the Minty program, we kind of do that, or mentor program, we do that with you anyway when you're writing those first offers. So wanted to touch on the checklist. And Jeff, I got to tell you, to be completely transparent, I don't use a checklist that often on the buyer side, because I just kind of know my system and what I do and kind of the process. So I asked Ashley and Sydney and Jeff to help me out with kind of putting a checklist together that we could pass out to everyone, so you guys could know what we do on paper. And we've put that together, and it's actually, we might even make some adjustments to that checklist tonight as we're brainstorming. But the checklist is done, but we're just going to kind of go through it and add some things. But usually, I mean, when I have a house under contract, I know exactly, boom, 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 this is what I do the first day, the first steps that I do. But wanted to put it down on paper so you guys could, have a reference to it. So
that's a good point to bring up, Eric, because what we pulled out is something that was from years ago, right? When you've been doing this for a while, those types of checklists are super, super critical so you don't miss things at the beginning. But
Yeah.
when you do multiple transactions year after year, you really stop referring to it, right? And you also incorporate new things into your process as you go on the fly and say, oh, we got to start doing this. But it doesn't necessarily mean you go back and update the checklist. So I'm glad you brought that up because we probably will modify that. I'll probably get some more input from Ashley, who does my transaction coordination. You and I, of course, are in the hands-on, boots on the ground with the clients on the transaction. So guys know that this isn't like, hey, the polished product, but it's going to give us some good dialogue for tonight for sure. And then we'll kind of fine tune it for you.
Yep, love it. Yeah, so we're going to jump right into it. Jeff, can you give me sharing
Oh,
abilities?
sorry. Yep.
Yeah, no problem.
Go ahead.
Okay. Get on the right screen here.
Welcome, DL and Kaylee. I don't think I said hi to you guys yet.
Hi.
Hey, DL. How you doing, buddy?
Better than I flip and deserve.
Well, I agree with that. I'm pretty sure. Hi, Kaylee. So you get a sneak preview of everything as we just kind of roll through this. But so this is a buyer under contract checklist. And the first thing we're going to go through is kind of just your pre-qualification that before you even have your house under contract or a buyer under contract. And we've talked about this a lot of times. There's really only two kinds of markets in real estate. There's not really a bad market. It's either a seller's market or a buyer's market. And right now, I think everybody in the country is in a seller's market. Inventory is really low. So the first thing that you always want to do is make sure you have a pre-qual letter when you're looking at houses. Super important to make sure that your buyers are qualified as much as possible, because you might be up against multiple offers in a situation. So pre-qualification letter received from lender is the first thing on the list. And added some little checkbox areas here. That's not even a checkbox item. That's just a required. I mean, that's the first thing you do. So as we go through this, Jeff, just jump in, let me know. And if there's something that we need to add that comes to mind. And if anyone has any questions, please let me know as well.
I just want to add a comment to the pre-qualification letter because I've had several phone calls with the newer agents on, hey, I've got a potential lead for a buyer. What do I do first? Type of thing. And really, like with what we talked about with the listings, the first conversation is when can I set up a time to come see your home so I can properly assess its value, right? That's the first conversation. You're not talking to them for 45 minutes about how you sell homes. Go meet them in person and build rapport. On the buyer side, the initial conversation's all about you guiding them through the process, making it clear that step one is the pre-qualification letter. And I gotta be honest with you guys, even if you haven't done a transaction yet and you have a buyer that seems like they're really anxious to go look at properties, if they won't do this for you, you need to have enough control to back off a little bit and not just run out on their schedule and go start seeing houses when you don't even know what they can perform on. So that's critical. Like Eric said, it's on there. It's not even a checklist. That's just top, front, and center. You do that first before you do anything else.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about that is it's a mindset too, because if you're going to go shop for a new car, the first thing you do is you go to the dealership and you start looking at different cars. You see what color you want. And then if you decide you want to get one, then you worry about the loan, right? And most people kind of have that mindset of, hey, let's go do the fun stuff first and worry about the boring stuff later. Well, talking to a lender is not fun, even if you have 850 FICOs and you know you're qualified, and it's not a big deal. It's just not something that you say, boy, I can't wait to do that. Go through the lending process. So don't feel bad if someone calls you or you get a new buyer and they want to go look at houses and they're not pre-qualified yet. Most of them aren't, because they start doing the fun stuff first It's because people are people, and we're kind of all like that, you know? So that's a really important good step. So as we go through this checklist, this is the first 3 or 4 items here are things that we're going to do before we're actually under contract. If you have a pre-qualification letter with a buyer that's going to work with you, then create a folder that you're going to keep everything in. I use Google Drive, and Jeff and the Marchants use Dropbox. They both do the same thing, but what's nice about it is if you have either one of those systems, if you have a folder on your desktop connected to Dropbox or Google Docs, and you put all the documents in that folder, it will sync everywhere between all of your computers. So if you drop your computer, your laptop in the lake, you're not losing everything you had on all of your transactions. They're going to be backed up, they're saved, you don't have to worry about it. So that's really important, so you're not duplicating and doing things over and over. So just figure out which system you want to use on that and save them. This is something, the second item, send a team introduction email to the clients. Jeff, do you want to elaborate on that? Because this is part of your checklist.
Well, we actually have a team because as you guys know, I have Ashley and Sydney that work for us, and then Lynn and I are both licensed realtors as well. So what that is, and you guys could define it for your own structure, but your team might include, you know, your title, your lenders, and the other people that you're working with in the transaction. But we just want to introduce those that they're going to be communicating with. So generally this comes from Ashley, and she's like, that team introductions where, hey, we're happy to be working with you, happy to have you as a client, or maybe it's a repeat client, happy to be working with you again. And just kind of opening up that communication, and then she lays out some expectations. And Eric, maybe I'll make a note that some of these correspondence that you're going to be bringing up in this checklist, Ashley, of course, creates templates for that kind of stuff. So maybe that's something I can package together that we could put up in Workplace in our Marchant group for everybody to look at. And then you can modify it to your own situation. But it's just an introduction. She's stating that what she's going to be doing throughout the transaction, she's going to be kind of like the main lead point of contact because she is the transaction coordinator. That's all that is just happy to be working with you. Here's what to expect moving forward.
Yeah, and even if you're a single team, a team of one, just sending that letter out and saying you're excited to work with them, happy to help. Feel free to call me if you have any questions. Here's the escrow officer that I use that will be helping us through the process and closing. So if they get a call from your title and they don't know who it is for whatever reason through the process, then it eliminates that. Who is this? Do I trust this person calling me? They've already had that introduction, so it's good even if it's just a single agent.
And some of you might actually hire a transaction coordinator to do your files for you when you get to that point where that makes sense. And so that would be one of your team members in that introduction on how communication flow is going to go.
Yep, perfect. Next item is pretty simple. Save your pre-qual letter in your Dropbox, Google Drive from the lender. Just putting everything in the same box so you have everything in one place. On a side note, I like to create a folder within the folder. So I have kind of my raw documents in the folder, and then I have what I name a folder inside there, final documents. And the reason I do that is because sometimes when you write an offer, you only have half signatures. And once I get a full executed addendum or a REPC or any kind of documents that are done and ready to be reviewed in SkySlope or sent to the broker, I put them in a final folder so I know where all the documents are that are completed. It just makes it a little easy for me. So every one of my folders, I have a folder within a folder.
Hey, Eric, let me share my screen. I know. So guys, this might end up being a 2-part thing because Eric's on paragraph 1 of 5 pages. So we may not get through everything, but we have a pretty good folder tree.
A folder tree. I like it.
Whatever you want to call it, you know what I mean. How do I move that stupid thing? Sorry, I got the menu bar right in front of my face.
It's always in the way.
How do I move it? Oh, there we go. Okay, so you guys aren't seeing what I'm moving, but can you see this? So under my buyer folders, I've got a template folder that can be copy and pasted. Some of these forms are ones that need to be added to every transaction, okay? Ashley's done this. So here's what Eric's talking about. When you do, so this is an under contract folder. Even before that, Eric, we start with an offer folder. So I'm gonna have my pre-qual letter, and then I'm gonna make an offer folder. Sometimes inside the offer folder, there might be 2 or 3, right, in this market. So we just name them the address. And then once one goes under contract, that gets the capital UC at the end of that address. This is the one that's under contract. And when we open it up, then we have all of these folders already made, so we can copy and paste, put those in there to separate our documents, make it easier to find. It's kind of like a file drawer. If I just crammed all my documents, my inspection reports, and everything, and my offers and counteroffer addendums and everything in one big folder, it would be really hard to sort and find things. So I like to separate things into separate folders. The only thing that go in the final folder, of course, like you were just saying, Eric, is the fully executed contracts. Prior to that, in the offer folder, we kind of have like a naming convention where if it's a REPC and it's just signed by the buyer, it'll say REPC, buyer signed. Okay, then I get one back from the seller if they accepted it. Now I save that and it says REPC signed. Okay, if I receive something from a seller for my buyer, it's gonna say addendum number 1, seller signed. That means it's not fully executed yet. So all of those in transition documents kind of just hang out in the offer folder until we get that fully executed copy emailed to us, and then it goes up in into the final folder. And so you can see there's nothing in there. Title, we're gonna have our title company and seller's title company, right? We're gonna get 2 PRs. Inspections, that's just where the reports goes. Any bids you get for your clients, any due diligence items like maybe meth report, radon, home inspection report, all goes in inspections. We save the appraisal. So these folders, and then of course, any marketing, we don't really do a lot of marketing for the buyers. I'm not sure that's in the buyer one. But if it has an HOA, we're gonna have a ton of HOA docs, right? CC&Rs, rules and regulations, meetings to minutes. Those are all gonna go in the HOA folder. And then we have a home warranty folder for those certificates once that's ordered. So that's a little bit more separation, Eric. But for me, it's just the way my mind works, it's easier to go to a separate folder for separate documents instead of having one big folder with multiple labeling systems. So I don't know if that's helpful or not, but that's kind of what we do. And that's kind of like a template when working for the buyers.
I think that's awesome. Is that a template that we could share too? Or is it kind
within
of
my Dropbox, so I don't know how I would share folders, but actually, this is my Dropbox, so I could go to my online version and you can create links. That's another great thing with Dropbox is I can go to that folder on my mobile device or online, and you can share that folder. You can create a link for the folder. So I can definitely share my template folder, my Dropbox account, and you guys can take a look at it, modify it, do it how you want.
I use Google Drive. How much does it cost you monthly to use Dropbox the way you guys use it? Do you know?
Initially, it's free, and that's either a Lynn or an Ashley question. I don't do money.
Okay. I don't think it's that expensive.
It's not. It's nominal for what it does. And honestly, you can use it for free to get started. Then once you get up to a certain usage or storage space, then I think you buy more storage space.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, the next thing is you can have one folder on your desktop and just have it called Dropbox, and all of this is in it. So it's on all your computers.
Yeah, so see over here in my menu bar, this is my Dropbox folder. When you download Dropbox onto your computer, it creates a folder. I don't even use this documents folder up here that came with the computer. And the pictures one, I don't even use those. It's all under Dropbox. Okay, and then every one has its own, purpose, right? So inside Realtor, I have different things. Inside Client Documents, I have different things. But to start with, it's like a Realtor folder, buyers, sellers, sold, kind of start with that.
Perfect. Thanks, Jeff. That's awesome. Very organized. Or should I say thanks, Sydney?
No, actually, Jeff did everything on his own before he had help. So I started it. They helped polish it.
Perfect.
Yeah, we got to maintain it, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm bringing my laptop with me.
There you go.
Awesome.
Okay, next one is also, it's not, I could actually add a little checkbox here. That'd be a good one. When presenting offer to buyer for signatures, include the deposit of earnest money at a title company. That's just the addendum. Also, your buyer broker agreement, due diligence checklist, and wire fraud notice. So when you're writing an offer, if you include all those, it just makes your life easier. And plus, our brokers love that when you have all of that uploaded at the same time when you create your when you create that transaction once it goes under contract. So, yeah, thanks, Jeff, for adding that. That's fantastic. So what do we do when we get it under contract? So we've got the offer under contract. First thing that we're going to do is exchange title information with the seller's agent. Always like to be first in that category. Like I like to send my title info to the seller before they ask for it. And Jeff's super competitive about that too. Get that over there as soon as you can. The agent knows you know what you're doing and you're on top of it. And when you're on the buyer side, you're kind of selling yourself as knowing what you're doing right from the beginning anyway. So it's good to just stay on top of it. And then you'll see that we've got saved documents. Put them in the Dropbox. Everything that you get additional, put them where they belong in your folders. Save the active MLS data sheet to Dropbox. So that's just your active MLS sheet. I also put in the county tax records as well into that folder, just so if I can access them, because every once in a while you just need to access something and it's just easy to just go grab it if it's already in there. And then also the MLS data sheet, because you have to upload that into SkySlope. So save that in there as soon as you get it. And as you're going through everything, review all your documents. And combining the REPC and addendums if you need to. This would be more for sending it to the title company and the lender to make it nice and easy for them. In SkySlope, we kind of separate those anyway. So save everything that you have to Dropbox. And I love this one, Jeff. I actually haven't done this one. This is not part of my checklist, that send a group message to the clients and the agent once it's under contract. I really like that. You're just kind of sending that out and letting everybody know where you're at. So it's kind of just an extra confirmation and letting everybody know that you're moving forward. And buyers and other agents love communication, without a doubt.
I do want to know, Eric. Oh, Jeff, you
Go
might
ahead,
be saying
Sid.
the same thing.
Yeah,
You
go
might be
ahead.
saying the same thing, but that's actually from Ashley's perspective as the transaction coordinator. So she
Okay.
puts Jeff or Lynn in a group text with the clients, just so she has a point of communication where she can introduce herself and give them her cell phone number.
Okay, that makes sense. Perfect.
So that's clients and agents, not everybody involved. But I think down lower, you're going to see one that's more of an email where we send out a transaction summary sheet. You and Eric, you and I have talked about the one that we use on that, and I can even share that or show that when you get to that point. But that there is a group email that goes out to kind of just like introduce all parties, because it's surprising how many agents don't send you the information you need, and you got to track it down. And so they're likely not communicating with their title. We'll have other title companies for the other side of the transaction reach out to us for stuff. And along the lines of what you're talking about up above, where you like to be first, our kind of like model is don't let anybody ask us for anything that they need. We know what they need.
Yep.
Our rule is I get pretty upset when somebody has to ask us for something because we've slacked somehow. So we just get it to them first. And so we do connect everybody on email.
Perfect. So these are all really like day one items. It's once you get a property under contract, there's some work to do, and do it immediately, because it's better to hurry up and wait than to time it. I look at real estate kind of like a marathon. If you're going to run 26.2 miles, which I've never done, not at one time, but if you were to do that, marathon runners, they pace themselves, right? They don't run out and sprint and then take a hour break and then pick it back up again. They pace themselves so they can hit 26 miles. In real estate, we do the opposite. We're going to sprint at the beginning and try to get as much done in as short amount of time possible, so everything stays online. Just in case there's a hiccup later, we have extra time. So don't think, well, I've got 14 days to my due diligence deadline. I'll just schedule that out 10 days and have my inspector come out in 10 days. You don't want to do that. You want to get everything. You want to hurry up and get as much done quickly, so you're ahead of the game and waiting. This request sellers disclosures, CC&Rs, and HOA, if possible. This can actually go in this email right here. We're exchanging title information. That's optional. That doesn't have to be two separate items. You can do those at the same time. And probably the most important thing on this page is add deadlines to a calendar. I don't care if it's in your phone or on a big desktop calendar or, your computer. Your deadlines are so important to pay attention to, because earnest money is usually attached to that, always attached to that, right? Your due diligence and your finance deadline and appraisal deadline are probably just as important, maybe more important than your settlement deadline. So put all those deadlines in, so you have them in front of you all the time, and you're watching those deadlines.
I would suggest, if you're doing your transactions yourself, that you do a visual calendar where you work the most, so that you can see it. It just like you see it every day. It's kind of like what Kathy was talking earlier today about vision boards, right? You see it every day. It's top of mind. But my calendar gets pretty, messed up. And so when you're getting so many notifications, sometimes you can gloss over something and miss something if there's too much. So that's perfect, Eric. And I knew you did the same thing. Ashley does that on her wall when you go in her office, because she tracks our transactions. She's got it mapped out to where there's no surprises. It's not sneaking up on her. She sees it 100 times a day. So
Yeah.
I would suggest that, something visual off the computer.
Yeah, that's super important. So these are all like kind of day one items. The next one, important scheduling as soon as possible after under contract. I would say these are all day one items as well. We've talked a little bit about the home warranty, but we order home warranties on day one as soon as you go under contract. And we really haven't talked in a while about kind of the advantages of doing that. But just briefly, most home warranty companies have a kind of an in-between policy. So even if you have a home warranty that's going to start at settlement 30 days out, there are advantages to having a home warranty in place. Before you do your inspection, there's actually some home warranties that offer some coverages to help protect not only your buyer, but the seller as well. So get that on file. It doesn't cost anything. If the house doesn't close and we end up canceling that home warranty and it is never issued, it's like free coverage during that process. And not many agents do that on the buyer side. So we can talk about that later if you guys have more questions about how that works. That's kind of a whole nother class. Send an email to buyers with inspection companies. So that's allowing the buyer to pick their inspection company. If they don't have one, obviously you have 2 or 3 that you have in backup. And sometimes inspectors are kind of backed up right now. So you want to order that inspection. I mean, day one, you want to get that in as soon as possible, because if you have something major on your home inspection, it might prevent you from spending money on that appraisal. So you want to get that inspection done as soon as possible for your buyer.
Here's what I do, guys, because we're trying to be competitive on our offers and move things along really quick, right? So Eric brings up a good point. So we email links to our inspectors so they can check them out. They can pick their own inspector if they want. However, a lot of our clients are going to trust in our opinion. Not that we're going to steer them towards one particular person all the time. We want them to have choices. But here's what I run into in this market. It's like I'm having the conversation with my buyers and I'm getting their permission. Am I okay? I've got 2 or 3 that I like, but am I okay to go with the one that has the first opening on their calendar? Because I've got one, Eric, that you've used a lot, Jim, he's booked out 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
I can never get him. And if I've got a 7 to 10 day due diligence period, that's not an option. So a lot of times you're going to get that permission from your client because they understand the urgency, and you're not going to just take any old inspector that you've never worked with before, because you're going to have 2 or 3. And I don't like to say, hey, check out these inspectors, get back to me. What if a day or 2 goes by before they even pick one? Like you're saying, Eric, this is a day 1 activity. And I'm texting them, I'm saying, when's your soonest opening on inspection you can do for me in Murray, 2,200 square feet, blah, blah, blah. And that's how I do it. So Radon, you guys know, gets ordered right away. We just did a training on Radon. That's going to be done day 1 for free. I don't even talk to my clients about that. We just order it.
Yeah, order that day 1. And the listing agent will probably get a call within 24 hours of you ordering that to set that up. So again, they know that you're on top of it, which is helpful. The reason I just put that in mold, meth, and radon is when you're ordering the home inspection, most home inspectors have the ability to do these. Usually we use the Utah radon here because it's free, but a lot of inspectors have the radon that they can also test as well. And then meth and mold. Not every buyer is going to order every single inspection, but you want to obviously give them the options. And we've talked about those before. We're not going to spend a lot of time on them, but when your buyer goes to sell this house in 5 years and they didn't do a meth test and there's meth in the walls and they're wondering why didn't we do a meth test? You want to have that conversation with them because it does stay on the walls for a long time. So always recommend that. So yeah, day 1, I think you're done. That's a lot to do in day 1, but not every day looks like that. Thank goodness, right? So first 48 hours after you get a lot of this completed and signed, you're going to upload your documents into SkySlope. And first you create that transaction. So you create the transaction, upload your documents, everybody's happy, and you feel really good about that because you got something cooking in your SkySlope, and your broker's happy that you're on top of it quickly too. So any other thoughts on that, Jeff? Good?
No, that's perfect. We sometimes you can get to that day 1 too, whatever you have, you're under contract, you're sending out to a lot of people, but for sure, just to make sure you're not holding somebody else up, you want to start that transaction as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. So transaction summary sheet, I use one, basically it just has everybody involved in the transaction, buyer, seller, listing agent, seller's agent, title companies, inspector, and then earnest money, where it's deposited and the amount, and then also your all of your dates, with that transaction. I just fill that out and I send it to both title companies, the lender, and the listing agent, just to give them kind of a cheat sheet. And it's really more for everybody else than it is for me because I already have it on my calendar.
Do you want me to pull up a sample one, Eric, or do you want me to just share it later?
Yeah, you can do. I've got one too, or you can share yours. Do you want to share yours? Do you have one easy?
Oh, I can just go to a buyer folder and pull one up.
Okay.
Whoops, not with that share though. So what we do is we actually have a separate folder. Can you guys see my screen? Did I share the right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So I have a transaction summaries folder, right? And then inside that, it's going to have buyers and sellers. And then when they're closed, they go into another folder, archived or whatever, a canceled deal. So if you go, so what that said is transaction summary, and it had the last name of both parties in the transaction, and I put ours first. So did it change, or do I need to share a different screen now? Can you see it?
Nope.
No?
You're just hovering over that folder.
Okay, it pulled it up on my computer. Let me. Okay, so this is what ours looks like. I think Ashley has this in a Word format and Excel format. We can share this with you if you want to use something like it, and you can customize it to yours. But just what Eric was saying, this is kind of what it looks like. I actually like having the transaction summary folder for all our pendings and what we're working on right now, because when I am out and about, it saves me a lot of time if I need to look up the contact information for somebody and I can't remember who the agent was on the other side of that particular transaction, to go to that summary folder and just pull up the summary sheet and everybody involved in the transactions right there. And I can pull it up from my Dropbox right on my phone. And I just need to go to that one folder. So like you said, Eric's got the property address, the listing agents. We put in here, see if they got a transaction coordinator. They want to be copied on everything. It kind of goes to just really great communication, because if somebody's sending me stuff and not copying Ashley on it, I'm more likely to miss it. and Ashley doesn't know it's been sent. But if in the instructions, it's like, hey, please copy our transaction coordinator on everything, or I would prefer, if you're going to send it only one of us, send it to her, because she's more involved in that. If you guys are doing your own, of course, that won't apply. But know that other sides of the transaction will have a transaction coordinator. So you got to keep track of all that. We kind of put the summary of the sales information in this section here with the contract price. Not a lot of seller paid closing costs these days, but we put the commissions, the VACs, possession. You can see all the things that we put there. If the transaction required a lead-based paint disclosure or an FHA, we check whether that's yes or no on that. And Eric, just like you do on yours, we have our deadlines right there. So one thing we got to remember to do, if we get an addendum and a counteroffer, and or not a counteroffer, but something changes during the transaction because of inspection holdups or appraisal delays, and we extend those, we got to come in here and change that date. That's not dynamic. If there's a home warranty, how much does it cost? Who's paying for it? HOA contacts, even a link right there. And then you've got your mortgage and your buyer and seller title companies over here. So it's kind of everything you need to know at a glance on one page. Lynn likes to even print these out. And then, I don't know if she's still doing it, but she would take the MLS printout sheet. So she has all the details of the property, and then use one of those plastic sleeves and put these back to back. You got the MLS data sheet and you've got the transaction summary sheet in a plastic sheet that she carries around in her book that she carries around, and she can flip through it that way as well.
Do you send this to the agent on the other side?
Yes, that email where we send the under contract paperwork, where we're sending it to title and we're making those introductions. That's the email that gets all of the executed documents and this at the same time. And you'll be surprised, when some agents have their own version of this, and sometimes it's just an email template, so it's not really an attachment like this. But I've had quite a few agents ask me for a copy of this because they really, really like
Yeah, I'm one of
it.
them.
Okay.
I did want to add something on there as well. So at the bottom, there is a section that says notes to the bottom right. And Ashley will also add notes on there that are important to the transaction. Like, let's say they have a leaseback addendum or something else that requires an additional deadline. She'll put notes there. And that's mainly too for Lynn or Jeff when they're pulling this up and trying to reference without having to pull up the REPC and all the addenda in Dropbox and flip through them. They can just pull this up and get all the important pertinent notes to the transaction.
That's great. I use this same form too, and I put the inspector that was chosen, I put him in the notes section too, and then also the home warranty.
So Shantae said in the comments that Zip Forms has a similar cover sheet in the information auto feeds. Unfortunately, our brokerage here in Utah isn't integrated with the Zip Forms. Do you have yours right in SkySlope, Shantae?
No, I use Zip Forms separately. And once
separate.
the documents are executed, then I upload those up to SkySlope. So
Gotcha.
EXP is in Zip Forms. Is it just the Utah office?
You're breaking up. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I just know we don't have them. I don't know if other EXP offices have integrated Zip Forms. We just
They
don't.
might. I think it has to do with our MLS, Eric,
Oh,
or our association, the Utah Association of Realtors hasn't. Something, I can't remember what it was, honestly, now that I'm saying it out loud. But for some reason,
Perfect. So got that. Agency and disclosures, buyer broker agreement, buyer due diligence. Those are all kind of items that we want to create and get signed right away. And hopefully those were done when we wrote the offer anyway. So these are kind of just little reminders to check off that we have those items done.
And refer to your transaction checklist, document checklist in SkySlope as well.
Yep.
What's required.
And then Jeff, do you still use the protection for your protection, get a home inspection and disclosure forms on inspections?
I'm pretty sure we do.
Because it's not required in SkySlope with at least Rick and Utah.
Right. I'll have to ask Ashley if we're doing that, because the conversation could have gone either way. It's like, well, if it's not required, don't do it, or do it just to cover your butt. I'm not sure where we're at on that.
Yeah, those are great cover your butt type of things. Just to have someone sign off if they don't want meth test, just have them sign the disclosure form. Wire fraud disclosure, that's of course required. EXP has their own. It's inside of SkySlope under the office documents. And add everything back up to checklist and finish off your SkySlope for the transaction. Pretty simple, little good checklist just to kind of make sure you're getting everything done correctly. So day one or day two, kind of in that, right when you're getting started, we've got the title commitment, the PR. This is, we're just going to upload it into, you can upload it in SkySlope. It's not required for us to upload that, but there is a spot for it. And obviously you want to keep it in your main folder for the transaction. And then home inspection, we already talked about that, another checklist there. So kind of just your day one. Notify lender of inspection date. That's really important because we just kind of mentioned we want to get that inspection done as quickly as possible. And I always tell my buyers there's 2 financial commitments before our due diligence and financing deadlines that I can't get back. And those are the inspection and the appraisal. So if we're ordering an inspection and an appraisal on the same exact day, the buyer's probably going to be out $800 or $900 between those 2 purchases. If there's something major that comes up on the inspection, they wouldn't even have ordered the appraisal if they would have known about it on the inspection. So get that inspection ordered immediately so you can get the green light to order that appraisal. That's how I do it, Jeff. It's just, just kind of depends, but.
What we've started doing lately, because the appraisers are so backed up, is we'll get it ordered because we have plenty of time, especially if I'm getting out my inspection in 2 days.
Yeah.
Plenty of time to cancel the appraisal. So we started ordering that even before, but that has been our protocol through the years is, hey, let's see the inspection, make sure there's no deal killers, then give the green light for the inspector. Because you never know. I mean, somebody could say, yeah, I'll take that appraisal, and they go out tomorrow. But right now we're not seeing that, at least in, our markets. So that's what we're doing, is ordering it with the right to cancel.
And then do your inspectors do mold and meth test as well? Same inspection?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So do mine.
So those aren't all, we kind of give them a heads up that we might do them. Those aren't always evident that they want to do them. Like a mold test, if there was something brought up in the inspection that there was evidence that there was justification for doing the mold test, then we have them do it. And a meth test is like 100% like fought for and encouraged if it's been a rental property. If it's been a family that's lived there for 20 years, it's not an automatic thing, although as realtors, it's an automatic suggestion that they actually perform every test that they can. Like you said, what if they sell the house down the road, and you didn't even talk to them about it, and they didn't even know that was an option, and find out that it has levels of one of those things. So I don't give 100% green light to do those tests on the inspection. They're kind of like based on the inspection. So
yeah. I've heard of some situations and seen them where, grandma's lived in the house for 15 years and meth will pop up on the test, and she's the only one that's lived there, but she forgotten that she let her, grandkid live in the basement for 6 months, 2 years ago. And I mean, those kind of things happen. So you have to be aware that sometimes there's nothing there, and it can come up, and it is definitely a big issue when it does come up, and it's surprising in some houses that do. So I've heard some interesting stories from my inspector about what kind of houses they actually have tested positive. So yeah, give them that option. Verify annual property tax amount. Is that something that Sydney, Ashley do? And
yep. Well, I do it a lot. If I'm really concerned about what that payment's going to be with my buyer, where they're right on there, I'll do it free writing up the offer, right?
mm-hmm.
Ashley always does it. She'll pull up the assessor's information directly, because as you and I have talked about before, a lot of agents pull data from a previous listing and they don't update everything. So that listing could have sold 5 years ago, and they just transported the old tax amount into their new listing and never changed it. So you can't rely on that for sure. So yeah, it's getting checked on every deal.
Perfect. Good deal. And then update and create your KV Core info. This buyer obviously qualifies now as your SOI. So get used to putting that on your checklist and adding them to your KV Core, and any type of follow-up that you do for, your past clients.
Hey,
Jeff?
Eric.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but you skipped over adding deadlines to the calendar.
Oh.
And I wanted to ask you about milestone dates, because SkySlope is kind of driving me crazy with that, because they have the list of documents that are required, but not the exact dates in which, they're required in the timeline. And because I have enough experience, I pretty much know, and I've been creating SOPs and timelines to share with all my clients. But my previous transaction management program would give you deadlines for like everything, would just autofill the dates based on closing,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious how you all choose to track your milestone dates. What is your process for that?
Well, me personally, I put them on a physical calendar that's on my desktop. And I see those dates every single day. That's how I do them. I also put them in my phone as well, just on my calendar on my phone that syncs to my Gmail calendar.
Right, but are you going through your contract every time and feeding out those dates, or do you have a system where you're punching in the milestone dates, like the offer acceptance, the closing date, and such, and then it auto feeds the rest?
No, I don't have anything automatically that does that, except when I put it in my phone, it goes to my calendar because it's all attached through Google. So it goes to all the calendars on my Google calendar. So I guess I really just put it in that one area and it feeds to everywhere else. But then I write it on my physical calendar that I have on my desk as well.
Yeah, it's really just due diligence, deadline, financing, appraisal, and settlement. As far as document, dates for the transaction checklist, as you can see, we're trying to do as much as we can the very first day. And as we have everything that's done at that time, then all it is updating addenda, counteroffers, not counteroffers, changes because of due diligence or extensions and stuff like that. So pretty much everything that's on the checklist, we're getting done right up front. There's no real due date for it, except for if it's required. Day one is the due date, pretty much.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and the settlement deadline's in SkySlope when you create that account. So you're really looking at 2 other dates that are the important ones, the due diligence and then the finance appraisal deadline. So.
And we have a shared calendar that we use as well for stuff like that, because we got Lynn's transactions, Sydney's, mine. And so we have a Marchant group calendar. So it's not necessarily on our personal color code on our calendar. We have a group, color code that we can view or hide or whatever and see all of the Marchant group deadlines.
Jeff, I thought you were kidding when you said we'd have to make this a 2-part.
No, I leaned over to Chad and I said, he's on paragraph 1 and there's 5 pages. I keep saying, I could share something, and delaying us a little bit. So
No, it's good. I mean, it's a good information, right?
yeah.
Well, at least if we do this, next week or the week after, we've already got all the way up to week 1. So at least you're covered for that.
Oh, it flies from there.
Yeah, it does, right?
Most of the work's up front.
Yeah, no
I
doubt.
am going to try and confirm our kind of field trip training for next Tuesday, and maybe we can pick this up the week after that, if that's okay.
Yeah, that works. I like that idea. So, Shantae, is your earnest money due 4 days after you go under contract in Oregon, the way it is in Utah?
It's 3 days as a standard, unless you write in something different.
Gotcha. So ours is 4 days, which includes the same day it goes under contract.
Okay, yeah, day 1 is not until the day after, the business day after mutual
Okay.
acceptance.
Oh, it's the business day, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah,
So ours is
I
4
mean,
days.
for my calendar, there's like a dozen different required dates. Like there's not just a few. And then of course it changes a little for every transaction, but
Yeah, we're calendar days, not business days.
So
yeah.
if we
some things are business days, some things are calendar days for us. Goes back and forth.
So if we put a house under contract on Thursday,
Mhm.
technically the earnest money's due by Friday, because it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is our 4 calendar days. So we've got to get that in the next day if we put it under contract Thursday.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
yeah, so it's kind of the same. Yeah, 3 or 4, same thing. Yeah, because we include the day it's under contract.
Yeah, but no, we would be 3 business days.
Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, I like that better.
There's a little breathing room, huh?
Yeah. So
Well, I mean, today is day 1 for one of my transactions, and I haven't even received the escrow hasn't even been opened. I don't even have the contact info yet. But
Slackers.
I know.
so this is pretty simple. Deposit earnest money. Yep, within that time frame. And then you want to send a copy of the earnest money to the lender because they need that information. And then also you want to send a copy of the confirmation of earnest money receipt to the seller's agent. So you've got two different places where you're sending that earnest money letter to, the receipt, sorry. And then you're uploading that in SkySlope as well, your earnest money receipt and a copy of the check if it's a check. A lot of times you'll get, in SkySlope it says you have earnest money check and earnest money receipt. But if somebody sends a wire, for example, and you get the receipt that counts as both, or someone drops off a check to earnest money and they make a copy of the check and include it with a receipt, you're uploading the same document in 2 different places basically, and it covers you there. So joint escrow instructions regarding earnest money. If you have, anything that would be additional earnest money later, or if earnest money is coming from a couple different accounts or whatever, that's what you'd be using that for. So pretty simple stuff right there, just earnest money. So how are we doing on time, Jeff? How much more we got?
Well, it's top of the hour right now. Kind of depends on them. Maybe we could break it off right now so we could do a little Q&A, or if anybody wants to expand on anything that we've already talked about or any further questions.
Yeah, let's do that, because I like that we get into more detail and answer questions than try to rush right through it.
Right.
Good information. So maybe we'll break right there and see if anyone has any Q&A on what we've talked about.
Yeah, feel free to open up your mic, or I'll open the chat and look at that too.
And it might be like the first 15 minutes of the next class and we're on to something else too. So.
Right.
Did I see that you guys have in Utah, you have 2 title companies that you're working with for every transaction?
Not every transaction, but we have the option to have a buyer use one title company and a seller use another title company, unless it's a cash transaction, and then it's going to be both parties close with the listing or the seller's title.
Split closings are more common than not.
For sure.
Huh. Yeah, that doesn't happen. We like duke it out here. If one agent wants one title company and another agent wants the other. Mm-hmm.
So who chooses?
Technically the buyer, but in a competitive market like this, you'll often cave and cater to the seller if they have a strong feeling one way or the other. But buyer has final say.
Very interesting. Yeah, we do splits all the time. We, like Eric said, if it's cash and there's no lender's policy, then of course we go to the seller's title company.
And if they're signing the same day, can it still close the same day?
It can, if you do it early enough, and if the lender funds. We have quite a few closings that, we go to settlement and it funds and records the same day, but that's a dance with the team you're working with, make sure everybody's properly. My lender wires their funds the night before closing. Always withdraw them if he needs to, but he doesn't want to hold anybody up, so he'll send out his wire the day before.
Super interesting.
Yeah, we do a lot of interesting things here in Utah.
Well, we are pioneers, right? All right, whatever.
Yeah, was that helpful? Anybody have any comments or questions?
No, I think it's great. It's nice to have like a itemized sheet to kind of break everything down, especially for the newbies like myself,
Yeah, like I said at the beginning of the class, I think you'll refer to it on the first several deals. But by doing that, it's just going to be ingrained. And then you're going to have your transaction checklist inside of SkySlope too, right? This is what's required. It's really not something that you'll use when you've done a lot of transactions. It's just become second nature, like Eric said. It's just like part of his makeup. It's just like he's done it so many times, he doesn't need to look at a checklist.
So
Exactly.
where do we get access to this?
Yes, for sure. Yep. I'll upload it into Marchant Group for sure.
This is perfect.
Sorry, go ahead, Nate.
It is perfect. This is kind of what I've been looking for. We have the SkySlope, but an itemized checklist like this to get it all done up front to be able to see exactly what you need to be doing.
So, Eric, you can go ahead and upload this one, but I know that you and I have talked about, collaborate on it a little bit more to polish it up a bit. And I can also get some input from Ashley because we're going back in time here to something that we used to use. And you made quite a few edits already today. So if you upload it, just kind of with permission, we'll upload an updated one later.
Perfect. Yeah, I like that.
DL,
We'll have to twist it a little bit for Oregon, I think, but Shantae can help me with that.
Yep.
If he wants.
DL,
Perfect.
Yeah, so I screenshot, whatever, your Dropbox, that key. That's a really cool way to organize that. Do you have something like that for the seller side of the transaction, number one, and number two, a bit off topic? I am still having issues getting my computer to launch eXp World. I am trying to coordinate with support to get the issue fixed, but so far it's been a comedy of errors. I'm just curious if other people have had the issue where you click on the icon, it starts to load, looks like it wants to load, and then just disappears and dies off. So yeah, those are the two things. If we have a checklist for the seller side, like what you're talking about, and I know this is for the buyer side, I was just curious if there's one for the seller side and if anyone is experiencing eXp World issues as well. Thank you.
Eric, I think we did a listing checklist in a previous training, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. It's uploaded in the Marchant group as well. But as far as I think the Dropbox folders, you have a template for sellers as well, right?
Yeah, it's not as detailed, but I will, if you give me a minute, I'll try and get it. If somebody wants to click on the one I put in the chat, that should be the buyer one. And just make sure I shared the right link. Can somebody open up? Oh, you're looking at it right there. Yeah, so that's the only difference is I had mine in a list and this is thumbnail view. But that's the breakdown of our folders.
So that is that's a template of everything. That's a blank,
Yep.
right?
Yep, that's a blank one. And give me just a minute and I'll find the seller one.
I always find it interesting how people organize differently. Like I'm a structure and organizing freak. I don't always have time to organize as much as I like, but I'm all for this. My previous broker owner hated when we created subfolders. Like he absolutely hated when we created subfolders in our PB folder. We would have to have them in a totally different folder, which was actually not allowed. So.
Well, these are only for our use. These are on my Dropbox. These aren't something that I'm sharing with the brokerage. This is my own subfolders.
Right, but in an independent brokerage office, like everything is visible.
Oh, yeah. Anybody else have anything while I'm doing this? Don't just sit there and wait for me.
Are you just looking for the seller one? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, well, it's a long, I don't want to mess up. Look at that link in the chat. I don't want to mess that up by trying to type it in. So I'm emailing it to myself so I can copy and paste.
This is actually the first 7 o'clock training I've been able to make it to in quite some time. Busier than a one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest.
Love it. Well, we're glad you're here. And I just sent that email without pasting
What's Lynn doing?
Talking to somebody on the phone downstairs. Hopefully it's a money-making activity.
Knowing her, it probably is.
I would have said so.
All right, guys, here's the listing one. You can copy that as well. Great class, Eric. We didn't quite get through everything top to bottom, but we'll pick it back up.
Perfect. I love it. I just clicked on both those links and bookmarked them both. So very helpful. Thanks for sharing that, Jeff.
Yeah.
Were any of you guys having EXP World issues?
Oh yeah, no, I haven't had that issue happen to me before.
I'm not currently having any issues. I was in there a couple of times today with some tech questions. And so, no, I wasn't having any issues today as of lately, but I've had them before for sure.
I've been
It is
in
so
every day for a
weird.
couple of weeks, so I haven't seen anything.
And I have uninstalled and reinstalled it multiple times. I kid you not, probably close to 10 times at this point.
That's got to be a conflict, some sort of file conflict on your computer, I would think.
I guess I'm stalled because obviously I'm not able to access the necessary training that I need to access. So I'm part near close to taking my computer down to the shop and seeing what's the dealio.
Yeah, you're going to start living at the library and working from there on their computers. It's an option. Hey,
I guess if I'm hungry enough.
if you do get in, you might want, you get in, even if it's clunky, you might want to go into tech support and let them know the troubles you're experiencing. Early on, when I was first learning about EXP, I had some issues even installing it on my computer. And one of their techs sent me one of those links, you know, where they can kind of take control of your computer, and he fixed it. I don't know if they still do that. I mean, they say tech support's more for, you know, not necessarily software issues and computer issues, but they helped me before. It's worth an ask.
That's what we've been trying to do, and getting our times lined up has just been a bear, especially today. Well, actually, it's just been really crazy lately, but hopefully I can line up with support either tonight or tomorrow and get that fixed.
This today's training, where can I access that?
I'm hiding it forever.
No.
Hey, give me another minute.
I heard it was awesome.
Now you got to wait longer. I got to make sure I copy the right one though.
I thought you were recording all of these and stuffing them away in a special super duper cool neato place.
Yeah, it is. I have a super cool neato Dropbox folder with everything in it, but I'm having my own computer issues to where my hard drive's partitioned incorrectly and I'm out of storage space. So I don't know. One of these days I'll get it figured out. Get them up on YouTube or something for y'all.
I use Dropbox as well. It is a great service, and I'm sure at some point I'll have to break down and pay the subscription fee. I just don't like the fact that you're not initially given a great deal of storage, and the storage that you end up having to purchase after you've filled up your initial allotted free amount is really not that much. I mean, we live in a day where, you know, a drive the size of your thumb can have, you know, nearly a terabyte on it. So I don't know, but otherwise, I mean, it's a great service. I'm sure I'll quit whining and pay for it here sooner or later.
I'll see if I can help you with your computer tonight. I'll get an answer for you, Jeff. And then if DL, if you want to get on with one of us, we could get onto Tech World with EXP World and just kind of do a joint call and just see if we can figure it out, even if you can't log into the tech department.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, just text me during the day and we'll figure out a time. I'll jump in there with you. They know me pretty well at tech department. Is in there
Awesome.
today.
Sounds good. Tomorrow should be the day that finally, there's been like I said, it's been a comedy of errors, but fingers crossed, no bugaboos jump out of the shadows and I can finally get the dues for the board paid off. There was an issue with my card and it got kicked back, a very stupid issue, and it's just been one ridiculous thing after another, but fingers crossed, Wednesday, tomorrow is the day.
That's awesome. Congrats. I love it.
Okay, so I think I found the right link. Let me check it real quick. So one of the reasons why these haven't been uploaded anywhere. Yeah. So one of the reasons these aren't uploaded anywhere is there's a lot of before and after the actual training that I need to clip off and clean them up so you're actually just watching the training. I'm usually getting the presenter set up. So here's the link from today's, Kim. So you can go ahead and open that, but that link won't be good once I download it. This is the link right to Zoom for today's training. And if you can spend the time to clip it if you want or whatever, but you're gonna have to fast forward like 10 minutes plus before it actually gets started.
It's asking me for the passcode.
Oh, shine. It must have created one by default. Let me see.
You know, Jeff, I only found out recently that my computer will do that on its own. It'll record everything on the screen and then I can trim it and file it.
Yeah, I know I have the tools to actually do the trimming and the filing. It's actually finding the time to do the trimming and the filing.
Is it a program, Nate?
No, it came installed on my Windows 10. There's just I'd have to look them up. There's 3 keys that start the recording and it'll just snip it right off my screen. And so it's actually on my computer. Then I can upload the file to YouTube or wherever.
Okay, I think I shut off the password, so this might generate a new link now. Try that one, Kim. Looks like the same link, but I actually did take off the password protection.
Yeah, it worked.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Uncle Eric.
Hello. How you doing?
Good. Just making enchiladas.
Yeah.
You want come get some?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Cool. Like for instance, this last part of this training would be something that you'd want to clip off while I'm trying to find links for you.
Right.
This is good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, guys. I still got some work to do. I'm going to check out unless you guys got anything else.
Thanks so much. Appreciate y'all's time.
Thanks, everybody.
Good seeing
Have
everybody.
a good night. Thank you.
Yep.
Have a good night. This is a good one.
See y'all soon.